Okay, so these are 3 problems from the evaluating functions assignment. Hopefully it helps you out a little bit. There's a lot of different problems here. So the first thing that we need to understand is what f of x means. This right here is called function notation. And when it's inside the function, that is called the input, which really just represents x. So that part is what we are plugging in for x. So when we go to the equation, wherever there is an x, we are going to substitute a -6. The entire thing represents what we would get when we substitute -6. So let's see what happens. Copy everything you have, but just change the x's to be a -6. So we start with -3. Oh, there's an x. So instead of an x, I put a -6, and that is being squared. -4. Oh, there's another another x. So put -6, and +8. From here, you have to remember your orders of operations. Think of each term as a step. Work on this term first, then move on to the next term, then move on to the next, and you can put them all together after. So do one term at a time, knowing your orders of operations. Orders of operations say that we square a number first. So this -6 squared becomes a +36. And then we take that number and multiply it with -3. So -3 times 36 is -108. This is the simplified number for the first term. But now we move on. -4 times -6 is a +24. And there's nothing to do with the 8, we just add it at the end. So now that we have each term simplified, we can add them all together. So you get -108 plus 24 plus 8, and that gives you -76. This is called the output. It's what we got out of the function, which also represents the y value. So there's the answer for number 5. Let's move on. Number 7. I want to talk about what these bars represent. It's probably been a while since you've seen them. Those are called absolute value. And absolute value means you simplify what's inside the 2 bars, like parentheses, consider them parentheses, except because they're not parentheses, obviously, absolute value is a distance from 0. So it's always a positive solution. No matter what you get here, the answer will always be positive inside the bars. So let's start it off the same way. Substitute 5 in for the x. Everything else stays the same. So that means we have the absolute value of -3 times 5 minus 6. And then minus 10 comes after. So -3 times 5, that's -15. So we have the absolute value of -15 minus 6 minus 10. -15 minus 6 gives us the absolute value of -21 minus 10. So now that the inside of the absolute value is fully simplified, here's where we take in the knowledge of an absolute value. An absolute value simply means to make whatever's inside of it become a positive number. So the absolute value of -21 is just positive 21. Minus 10, so 21 minus 10 gives us 11. And that's our output for 7. Okay, number 9. Same idea. -2 is our input. So wherever there is an x, we put -2. But this one's a little different because our x is an exponent. So this is a power. You guys have calculators, so you can simply just type this into your calculator, but I'm going to remind you on something real quick. A negative exponent actually means reciprocal. This is one of our properties of exponents. So a negative exponent means flip the base. That would actually make the 5 become 1/5 squared, which gives us 1/25. And then this -75 just copies down, -75 just copies down. This, go ahead and change it to a decimal. 1/25 is 0.04. -75 gives you your answer of -74.96. So honestly, if you're using a calculator, you can just jump from this to that step. You technically don't need to do the 2 middle steps, but this is a good reminder in case, you know, there's a time where you can't use a calculator. All right, hope that makes sense. Good luck.